Hey everyone, welcome back to English Without Effort.
Hi, I'm Alice, and today we are talking about something that I think almost everyone has been guilty of at some point.
We are talking about social media oversharing. You know, when people post way too much about their personal lives online.
And I will be honest right away. I have definitely been that person before.
Oh, same. I think most of us have actually. It kind of sneaks up on you.
Right, like you do not even realize you are doing it until you look back at your old posts and think, why did I share that with the whole world?
Exactly. And I think that is what makes this topic so interesting. Because oversharing is not always obvious in the moment.
No, it really is not. So David, what do you think oversharing actually means? Like, where is the line?
That is such a good question, and I think the line is different for everyone. But for me, oversharing is when you post something really personal, like your arguments with family, your health problems, or your financial situation, and you share it publicly with people who are basically strangers.
Yeah, I think that is a really solid definition. It is like the information is too private for the audience you are sharing it with.
Exactly. And the thing is, social media kind of tricks you into feeling like you are just talking to your close friends, but you are actually talking to hundreds or even thousands of people.
Oh, that is such a good point. It feels intimate, but it is actually super public.
Right. And I think that gap between how it feels and how it actually is, that is where a lot of oversharing happens.
Okay, so can I share a kind of embarrassing story? Because I think it perfectly illustrates this.
Oh, absolutely. Please do.
So a few years ago, I went through a really stressful period at work, and I was venting about it on Instagram, like long caption posts about how exhausted I was and how unfair my boss was being.
Oh no, I can already see where this is going.
And yes, my boss followed me on Instagram. I had completely forgotten about that.
Oh my gosh, that is so painful to even think about.
It was mortifying. And the worst part is, my boss never said anything directly, but things got really awkward at work for a while after that.
I mean, that is honestly a really common situation. People forget that their audience is much wider than they think.
Totally. And I think that is what I mean when I say oversharing sneaks up on you. You are in an emotional moment. You want to express yourself. And social media is just right there.
Yeah, it is so accessible. Like back in the day, if you wanted to vent, you had to call a friend or write in a diary. Now you just open an app and type.
And the app is designed to encourage you to post. There is always a little prompt saying, "What is on your mind?" And you think, well, since you asked.
Right, exactly. The platform is literally asking you to share. So in a way, it is kind of a big deal how these apps are built. They are designed to get you to post more.
That is such an important point. It is not just about individual choices. The whole system is set up to encourage oversharing.
And then you get likes and comments, and it feels good. So you do it again.
It is like a little reward loop. You share something personal, people respond with sympathy or curiosity, and your brain goes, oh, that felt nice. Let me do that again.
Exactly. And I think that is why some people end up sharing things that are really, really private. Because the emotional reward keeps getting bigger as the posts get more personal.
Okay, so I want to talk about a specific type of oversharing that I find really fascinating and a little uncomfortable, honestly.
Go for it.
It is when parents post everything about their kids online. I mean, every single milestone, every cute moment, every tantrum, all of it, publicly.
Oh yeah, there is actually a word for that now. Sharenting. It is a mix of sharing and parenting.
Wait, really? I did not know there was a word for it. That is kind of a big deal, right? Like, if it has its own word, it must be a real phenomenon.
It absolutely is. And I think it raises some really interesting questions about consent. Because the child cannot exactly say, hey, I do not want my potty training photos on the internet.
Right, and those kids are going to grow up and find all of that content online. That could be really embarrassing for them.
Or even worse, it could be a safety issue. If you are always posting your child's location, their school, their routine, that information is out there for anyone to see.
That is actually really scary when you think about it that way. I think a lot of parents just do not consider that angle.
And I do not think they are bad people at all. I think they are just proud and excited, and they want to share that joy. The intention is totally pure.
Oh, absolutely. It comes from a place of love. But the impact can still be a problem, even when the intention is good.
Yeah, and I think that is a really useful way to think about oversharing in general. The intention might be fine, but you have to think about the impact too.
That is such a good way to put it. Intention versus impact. I am going to remember that.
So let me ask you something. Do you think there are cultural differences in what counts as oversharing?
Oh, that is such an interesting question. I think definitely yes. Like, in some cultures, sharing a lot about your family and your personal life is totally normal. It is a sign of openness and trust.
Right, and in other cultures, privacy is really valued. So even sharing something relatively minor might feel like too much.
Exactly. So the definition of oversharing is not universal at all. It really depends on your background and your community.
And I think that makes it even more complicated on social media, because you have got people from all different cultures interacting on the same platform.
Yeah, what feels totally normal to one person might feel really inappropriate to another. And neither of them is necessarily wrong.
Which is kind of a fascinating problem, right? There is no universal rulebook for this stuff.
No, there really is not. And I think that is part of why oversharing is such a tricky topic to talk about without sounding judgmental.
Totally. Because who are we to say what someone else should or should not share? But at the same time, there are real consequences.
Right, and I think the consequences are worth talking about. Like, have you ever seen someone share something really personal and then regret it publicly? Like, they post a big emotional rant and then delete it an hour later.
Ugh, I have seen that so many times. And the sad thing is, by the time they delete it, people have already seen it and taken screenshots.
The internet never forgets, as they say.
Never. And I think that is something a lot of people underestimate. That even if you delete something, it does not just disappear.
It really does not. And I think younger people especially, teenagers who have grown up with social media, sometimes do not fully understand that yet.
Yeah, and that is not their fault. They are still figuring out how all of this works. But it is something worth thinking about.
Okay, so I want to bring up something a little different. Because we have been talking mostly about the risks of oversharing, but I actually think there is a flip side to this.
Oh, interesting. What do you mean?
Well, sometimes sharing personal things online can actually be really powerful and positive. Like people who share their mental health struggles and then find out that thousands of others feel the same way. That can be genuinely healing.
Oh, that is such a good point. I have seen that happen a lot, actually. Someone posts something really vulnerable, and it turns into this whole community of support.
Exactly. And that is not oversharing. That is brave sharing. There is a difference.
I love that distinction. Brave sharing versus oversharing. How would you define the difference?
I think brave sharing is intentional. You know what you are sharing, you have thought about it, and your goal is connection or awareness. Oversharing is more impulsive. It is emotional and unfiltered, and you might regret it later.
That is really well put. It is about intention and awareness again.
Right, and also about the long-term feeling. If you share something and you feel relieved or connected afterward, that is probably brave sharing. If you feel exposed and anxious, that is probably oversharing.
Yeah, I think that gut feeling afterward is a really good indicator. Like, how do you feel an hour after you posted it?
Exactly. And if the answer is, oh no, why did I do that? That is your sign.
So let me share something from my own experience because I think it is relevant here.
Oh, yes, please.
So a while back, I went through a period where I was posting a lot about my daily life, like what I had for breakfast, what I was reading, random thoughts I had on my commute.
Okay, that sounds pretty normal, actually.
Well, it started out normal, but then I started sharing more and more. Like, I posted about a disagreement I had with a close friend. I did not name them, but anyone who knew us both would have figured it out immediately.
Oh, that is a tricky one. Because you feel like you are being vague enough, but you are really not.
Exactly. And my friend found out and was really hurt, not because of what I said, but because I had shared something private between us with the whole world without asking.
Yeah, that is a really important thing to think about. When you share your story, you are often also sharing someone else's story without their permission.
That is such a key point. Your life involves other people, and those people have not necessarily agreed to be part of your social media content.
Right. And I think that is one of the most overlooked aspects of oversharing. It is not just about you. It affects the people around you too.
Totally. And after that experience, I actually became a lot more careful about what I post. I kind of started asking myself, would the other people in this story be okay with me sharing it?
That is such a healthy habit. I think that question alone would prevent so much oversharing.
It really would. And it is not that hard to do. It just takes a second to pause before you hit post.
The pause before you post. I like that. It is kind of like counting to 10 before you say something you might regret.
Exactly. Same idea, just for social media.
Okay, so we have talked about personal oversharing, sharenting, cultural differences. But what about professional oversharing? Because I think that is a whole other category.
Oh, yes. And I think LinkedIn is a perfect example of this.
Oh my gosh, yes. LinkedIn has become such a strange place. Like, it is supposed to be professional, but people are sharing these incredibly emotional personal stories on there.
Right, like I once saw someone post about their divorce on LinkedIn and frame it as a lesson about resilience in the workplace.
No way. That is wild. I mean, I get what they were going for, but that feels like it crossed a line.
It really did. And I think LinkedIn oversharing is interesting because people justify it by connecting it to professional growth, but sometimes it is just a lot.
Yeah, there is a version of it that works, like sharing a professional setback and what you learned from it. That can be genuinely inspiring.
Totally. But when it gets into really personal territory, it can feel a bit uncomfortable for the audience. Like, I am just here to network, and now I feel like I need to be your therapist.
That is so funny and also so true. There is a mismatch between what the platform is for and what some people are using it for.
And I think that mismatch is at the heart of a lot of oversharing. You are using a space for something it was not really designed for.
That is a really interesting way to think about it. Like, the platform has an implied purpose, and when you go way outside that, people feel uncomfortable.
Right. And I think the same applies to, say, a WhatsApp group for your neighborhood. If you start sharing really personal stuff there, people are going to feel awkward.
Oh, totally. Context matters so much. The same information can be totally appropriate in one space and completely out of place in another.
Exactly. It is all about reading the room, or in this case, reading the platform.
Reading the platform. That should be a digital literacy skill they teach in schools, honestly.
I completely agree. Like understanding your audience and the context of the space you are in, that is so important, and most people just figure it out by trial and error.
And sometimes those errors are pretty painful, like my Instagram boss situation.
Or my posting about my friend's situation. Yeah, trial and error is not always fun.
No, it really is not. So I guess the question is, how do you find a healthy balance? Like, how do you share authentically without oversharing?
I think it comes back to a few things. First, the pause before you post. Just give yourself a moment to think about why you are sharing something.
Right. Are you sharing because it genuinely adds something? Or are you sharing because you are in an emotional moment and just need to express yourself?
And if it is the second one, maybe a diary or a voice note or a call to a close friend is a better option.
Totally. Social media does not have to be your emotional outlet. It can be, but it does not have to be.
And second, think about the other people in your story. Would they be okay with this being public?
Yes, that is such an important one. And third, and I think this is the one people forget the most, think about how you will feel about this post in a year.
Oh, that is a great one. The 1-year test. If you think you might cringe at it later, that is a pretty good sign to hold off.
Exactly. Because in the moment, everything feels really urgent and important. But a lot of the time, that feeling fades pretty quickly.
And the post is still there, even when the feeling is gone.
Right. The internet never forgets.
Never.
Okay, so if I had to pull out one big takeaway from today, I think it would be this. Sharing is not bad, oversharing is not always obvious, and the difference often comes down to intention and awareness.
I love that. And I would add, think about your audience. Think about the other people in your story, and give yourself that pause before you post.
The pause before you post. That is honestly such a simple habit that could save a lot of people a lot of awkwardness.
And a lot of regret. You know, this conversation has actually made me think about something I want to explore in a future episode. The idea of digital identity. Like how the version of yourself you present online compares to who you actually are.
Oh, that is such a fascinating topic. Because for a lot of people, those two versions are pretty different. And that gap is really interesting to think about.
Exactly. So that is something we are definitely going to dig into soon.
We hope you enjoyed listening today. And hey, if you have ever had an oversharing moment you look back on and cringe at, just know you are absolutely not alone.
Definitely not alone. Thanks so much for spending this time with us. See you next time on English Without Effort.
Take care, everyone. Bye.